Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. My name's Kyle. Tonight, Saturday evening, we're doing our Saturday night live hangout. Here it's November 19th. We have a fun Week 11 slate of games starting tomorrow. Basically, we're just going to hang out for the next half an hour or so, get all of your questions answered, all your start sits that you guys need, and we'll kind of go over the player news and everything that you guys need today. So we'll hop over let's look at the NBC Sports Edge news. And I think a lot of people are scrambling with this Arizona Cardinals team on Sunday or on Monday Night Football. I think a lot of question marks, whether it's DeAndre Hopkins, whether it's Marquise Brown, Kyler Murray. We really don't know what to expect. Hopkins didn't get a full week of practice in. He was DNP on Thursday, had a couple limited days in there. Not sure what's going on with Hopkins. You want to make sure you have someone just in case. I don't think we're going to get any news tomorrow, so we'll see. Kyler Murray, I'm going to lean towards him being doubtful. So if you're hanging on to Kyler Murray, I'm probably going to want to start a quarterback on Sunday. So if you guys do have Arizona Cardinal questions, please let me know. Good evening to Harris. Hope you're doing well. And Rob Bay's got Palmer or Risk Hollywood if he gets activated or not flex. So that's the tough one here because, we got the Monday night game. Don't know what's going on with DeAndre Hopkins. Don't know what's going on with Marquise Brown or Kyler Murray. So we and he's not on the injury report because he's technically healthy right now. But here's the Hopkins DNP. He was limited Friday, Saturday, so he's at least trending towards playing. We know Zach Ertz is out, and then you see Kyler Murray limited all week. Colt McCoy got in full practice in Friday and today as well. So I think Marquise Brown's going to play. The true question is just how much will he play? I'm just going to Twitter here to see what the latest is on Marquise Brown. He looked good. Like his video workouts have looked really, really solid. I don't see any kind of hesitation or anything that would make me nervous. So he's a true game time decision. I don't love your Josh Palmer backup plan, but he did catch a touchdown against the Chiefs back in week 2, and we risked Keenan Allen and Mike Williams being out there. But I think until we hear anything, I'm probably going to risk Hollywood Brown because I think he's got the higher ceiling. Still Tony or Sutton. I think Sutton's in for a pretty safe week, but I think you got to ride the hot hand. We know Marquise. We know Mecole Hardman's not playing in this game, and we also know that Juju Smith-Schuster's not in the game. So I think you got to take advantage of it. And MVS, he had an illness on Wednesday, so he's going to be in the game. So they're down to just Tony and MVS. I'm going to go with Tony in this one. Attach yourself to Kirk Cousins. Cousins or Garoppolo, or attach yourself to Patrick Mahomes. Cousins or Garoppolo. So I really like Garoppolo's matchup in this one, going up against Arizona. If we look at the matchup for Cousins and against the Cowboys don't allow a lot of points to the quarterback position, about 14.48. And then with the Arizona Cardinals, they are allowing, where are they? I thought I just saw them somewhere. My mind can't compute right now. Where is Arizona? Cardinals. Cardinals are really bad against QB, so I think you're going to want to play Jimmy G in this one. It's a Monday night game. Cardinals are a little bit shorthanded, so I'm going to roll with Jimmy G. That offense is it's got so many weapons. I feel safe with Jimmy Garoppolo. Hopkins or Gabe Davis, non-PPR. Again, with the practice report here, it looks like he's trending towards playing. He did not practice on Thursday, limited Friday, Saturday. I think he's good to go. I would rather hold out for DeAndre Hopkins, but it is a tough matchup. Whereas for Gabe Davis, going up against the Cleveland Browns, Cleveland has been kind of beaten up against wide receivers lately. If it was PPR, I would say Hopkins, but the fact that it's non-PPR, I'm going to go with Gabe Davis because there is uncertainty with DeAndre Hopkins and there's uncertainty with the quarterback situation. You also have Marquise Brown coming back. I'm going to take Gabe Davis in a dome against the Cleveland Browns. With that last question, he had Dylan drop 3 and Lazard drop 10. Still Kadarius Toney. Attach yourself to Mahomes. I can't afford a loss thing at 4-6 right outside of playoffs. I'm in the same boat. I'm 4-6 in a couple situations here. With a guy like Josh Palmer, let's look at the numbers here. He's been kind of the de facto wide receiver 1 while Mike Williams was away. when Mike Williams was playing, these were his numbers. He got a 13, a 15.9, a 3, a 5, and a 14. He missed some time here. He did have a nice game against Atlanta as the number one, but that's kind of what you're risking here. You're risking, a 3 or 5 point game, and you're basically just hoping for the 15 points. So to me, like if Marquise Brown plays, like he's got a much better range of outcomes. So I think I hold out hope for Marquise Brown. If he doesn't play, that's what worries me if he does not play. But it sounds like he's going to, like, they went to have him practicing and things like that. So I think he's on track to play. Maybe tomorrow we'll get some news about this, and it's nice having Palmer late. But if we get any word on Marquise Brown, hopefully tomorrow we'll get a good read on the situation. Gabe Davis with all this last minute travel, or Tony. Tony. You got to take advantage of the injuries to the Kansas City wide receivers. Let me keep looking around for some player news here. David Johnson getting activated here for the New Orleans Saints. So I guess here's another little piece for the Chargers. It doesn't sound like Gerald Everett's going to go tomorrow night. So if we don't get an answer and you just want to lock in some points with Palmer, I think that's probably the best thing to do. We expect the Chiefs to put up points. We expect Herbert to put up a lot of points. And the one thing that I can say about Palmer is I think he's going to be the guy that's number 2 in terms of snaps and routes. I don't think Keenan Allen's going to come out there and get 100% of the participation. So I think Palmer, him being the healthiest wide receiver, it's not a terrible play. And if Gerald Everett's not going to play too, I do like that. So monitor that situation. I'm kind of talking myself into Josh Palmer here just because there is a bit of a risk with Marquise. DJ Chark is back. Not sure if I like that. Darrington Evans for the Bears activated. No Josh Reynolds. The Lions are pretty beat up at wide receiver still. Zeke Elliott's going to play. Not worried about that. Let's keep it moving here. This one was interesting. J.D. McKissick put on injured reserve. So this makes Washington's backfield really predictable. That's going to make Brian Robinson a pretty solid running back too the rest of the way, and Antonio Gibson a running back too. And Gibson's got the PPR value. Brian Robinson's got the touchdown and the carries, and he's more of a standard format play. So I think the Washington backfield, especially this week against the Houston Texans, you're trying to get both guys in there. I trust you, and I'm not thinking you care about my fantasy team, but if Hollywood doesn't play and I started, no hard feelings. Let's see. It does feel like he's going to play. So I mean, let me see. They don't even have him listed as questionable right now. So I think it's hard. I wish we could get an update on this, because if he plays, that would suck not to play him. And then with the injuries to Hopkins and Zach Ertz, he has a chance to play. I wish we can get more information on this. I just don't know. Because if he doesn't play, then we're kind of stuck. Like, who are we stuck with? Like, can you go and get, like, do you have a Rondale Moore type player hanging out on the waiver wire? Do you have anybody else in that game, whether it's a 49er or a Cardinal, that we can back up? I don't know. What, Aiden and Harris, what do you guys think we should roll the dice with Marquise Brown over Josh Palmer? If you tell me Marquise Brown plays, he's the obvious answer from the situation, but we just don't know if he's going to play. First down and 40-point bonus. Kieran, Skowronek, Warren. I'm going to go with Kieran Williams. I think last week's usage was pretty important. He got a lot of work in his first game, and it's only going to increase. I'll go with Kieran Williams. And in a game where, I mean, Cooper Kupp is out for a while, maybe the year, you're probably going to see Stafford rely more on the short passing game to his running backs and the tight end. So I like Kieran Williams. Myers or Kadarius Toney. This one's Kadarius Toney. Myers has been catching touchdowns this year, but that's not a sticky number. I think Toney attached to Mahomes is the easy call here. And I think I trust David Montgomery. We know Khalil Herbert's out. The Falcons pretty, like, they're not the, they're okay against running back. They allow about 24 PPR points per game. So it's a good matchup for the Bears running back. So I'm going to say Montgomery is in our circle of trust. And so the problem is, I have Warren only signed by MVS available on waiver. I mean, I would probably feel more comfortable starting MVS over Palmer just because he's going to be the clear number 2 receiver. He's going to be on the field a ton. So I think we have to hold out. I think we got to hold out for Marquise Brown. I think that is the move. Trust money. And that's the thing. Is a lot of times you see like these running quarterbacks, they actually boost their running back value because teams have to be worried about the quarterback keeping the ball and getting out of the pocket and doing things in like RPOs and stuff. So Monty's value goes up not only with Khalil Herbert out, but with Fields as his QB. Let me see what other player news we can find here. This one's interesting. The Raiders could release Derek Carr after the season to avoid paying the final 3 years of his contract. Curious what Davante Adams would think of that. Jerick McKinnon's a nice play. Rave, if you needed someone, I would feel safe with Jerick McKinnon if he's available in a PPR league. I feel pretty safe with McKinnon. Like if this player is for your flex position, McKinnon the last few games, here are his numbers. He's hit 11, 10, and 6, 6, and 9. His last 5 games, you look at the targets here, 6 and 6, or 6 receptions, 6 receptions. So he's accumulating a ton of volume in the passing game. He caught a touchdown against the Chargers back in week 2 as well. So if you're nervous about Marquise and you wanted to get someone in that Chiefs-Chargers game, I would look for maybe Jerick McKinnon, and if not, Pacheco, I'm sure is probably owned, but it's hard to trust. It's hard to trust Marquise. I wish there was more answers here. I wish we had a better way of knowing here. I'm just looking on Twitter to see if there's anything else that makes sense. Again, hopefully, it would be nice. It would be nice if we get like a Schefter notification this morning or tomorrow morning and say he's good to go. Brandon Ayuk or Devonta Smith happy PPR. I'm going with Devonta Smith. I think the absence of Dallas Goedert boosts. AJ Brown was already pretty good, but it boosts Devonta Smith because now you're talking about your top 2 target man. Really, the Eagles only had room for 2 guys to hit in fantasy every week, and now that Goddard's out of the equation, you want Devonta Smith in your lineup. He caught a touchdown last week. Colts are pretty good against the wide receiver, but you're going to see some manufactured touches for Devonta, so I like Smith. And Pacheco is technically the bell cow. Let me pull up the routes run from PFF. Let me show you. They use McKinnon, like they feature him as a wide receiver weapon. Let's pull this up here. So here you go. Last week, Pacheco had 35 snaps to McKinnon's 24. Routes run were 16 to 18. McKinnon in the favor there. Only 1 carry for McKinnon, but 8 targets. So he is purely the guy that they're looking for as a pass-catching running back. And Clyde Edwards-Helaire, non-existent in this game. So I think tomorrow night, Pacheco, he's going to dominate the carries, and he's got a good chance for a rushing touchdown. But they do like McKinnon a lot in pass. Like he is any third down, he's out there, and Mahomes trusts him. I think he could have himself a nice game. And again, he catches touchdowns on random weeks, and it seems like he does them on prime time. And yeah, Christian Watson really hit home for us again. Another 21 points from the rookie wide receiver. It's unfortunate the Packers weren't able to look better in that game here. But I'm trying to look for more stuff here to see if Marquise Brown's going to play. Let's see. I had him like week him, and the touchdowns were falling to Clyde earlier in the year, and then all of a sudden, he's not what they paid for with that first round draft capital. You can see he just falls off a cliff here. Last week he didn't get a single touch, so that's kind of where they are sitting. And Aiden, I have not done any research yet on the next year's class. I'm always excited about the wide receivers. That's my favorite position to scout. But I'll start looking into the next draft class right around Christmas time when a lot of the bowl games are starting. That's when I get kind of dialed in to some of those performances. So we'll have a better answer for you around Christmas time. Drop Drake London or James Robinson or Tampa Bay defense. If you can drop Tampa Bay I'm assuming you have a defense already for the week. Let's look at that Buccaneers schedule. are you going to be using Tampa Bay going forward? I mean, they play the Browns, they play the Saints, they play the 49ers, the Bengals. It's not an amazing schedule for these guys here, so I don't think they're going to be super vital to your success. And there's always a good chance that you can get them back next week because no one's going to pick them up for their bye week. So I'm probably dropping Tampa Bay. And yeah, so this is a tough question, man. I'm sorry, I don't have anything more concrete. But I do think if we get any news tomorrow about Marquise Brown, let's roll with Marquise Brown. But if I think the safest answer is if McKinnon's available, I think he's a fine PPR flex play. I don't hate Josh Palmer. But again, with MVS, Palmer, McKinnon, we're praying for 7 to 10 points. Whereas Marquise Brown, if he's in, we know he can get that in a play or two. If I would say Jared Goff is droppable, and if you're in a 1 QB league, you don't need Jared Goff. I like Quentin. I haven't done too much more research on it, but I do like. I've seen Quentin Johnson. I think I'm a fan of him. I kind of like the tight ends next year. I think the Notre Dame guy looks like a pretty good player. Meyer from Notre Dame. But anyways, let's see what else we got brewing here. What do you guys need tomorrow? It's always a T. Higgins weekend for me. I need T. Higgins to ball out. Might be his last chance to do so without Jamar Chase. But we shall see. I'm hoping Ramondre Stevenson's going to have a game tomorrow too. Not sure what to think of this Davante Adams questionable thing. Let's look at the reports. Davante Adams. Here we go. So limited. I think he's going to play, but maybe he's not at 100% health. I do like Foster Moreau quite a bit in tomorrow's game. Kevin, thanks for hanging out. We just got Jeff Wilson for Akers and Jalen Warren in the Dynasty 12-team Superflex. Okay. So, I mean, we're selling. I think selling Akers is the right move. Jalen Warren, I don't ever see him being like a feature back. He's going to probably always be like a strong number 2 option. Of course, he's going to need Najee Harris to not play for him to have fantasy starting relevance. But Jeff Wilson right now in that Dolphins offense, man, like that's not only is that, not only is that a win now mode, but I think Jeff Wilson, man, he's going to be a part of their plan for next year as well. So I totally like it. Akers, I don't think we're ever going to see Akers back to his pre-injury form. Does Deshaun Watson coming back hurt or help Njoku? I think he can only help. I mean, we love what Jacoby Brissett does throwing to the tight end. He's been notorious for throwing to the tight end throughout his career, and he's been very good to there's been games where Cooper, DPJ, and Njoku all hit. So Brissett's been nice, but I think anytime that you can get Deshaun Watson coming back, that's going to lift. I mean, what's the ceiling for Jacoby Brissett? A good game for him is like 220 yards passing. When Watson comes in, they're going to be wanting to throw the ball a little bit more, maybe get up to, in the 260, 270 yards for Watson. So I think it only helps, and we might see more touchdowns fall in Njoku's way. I need DJ Moore to do something. Everyone needs DJ Moore to do something. It's on paper, the matchup is not great heading to Baltimore. But the Ravens do allow wide receiver points. On the season here, 128 catches, 1,700 yards, 8 touchdowns. They're giving up about 38 points per game. I think the thing we're nervous about is Baker Mayfield. That is the big question, is what can we expect from him? I think at some point, maybe next week or the week after, we're probably going to see Sam Darnold get his shot at the Carolina starting job. So we'll see. But yeah, we didn't have any fun games with Baker Mayfield for DJ Moore. So it's a tough situation. Is Njoku playing? It sure sounds like it. I know he missed practice on Wednesday, but limited Thursday, Friday, he's on track to play. I would imagine 90 minutes before kickoff tomorrow at noon, we'll get a good answer on Njoku, but I feel like he's playing. I need Swift, McKinnon, Njoku, and Tony to be some PPR weapons. The only one I'm hesitant about there is DeAndre Swift. Like they just the conversation around DeAndre Swift with the coaching staff and everything it doesn't sound good. And I don't think we're ever going to see Swift healthy the rest of this season. And they're probably going to keep him kind of like they're basically bumper bowling with DeAndre Swift. Like they don't want to unleash him. Last week, he finally hopped Justin Jackson. So he's kind of like looking okay, but they still use Justin Jackson for 10 routes run compared to Swift's 9. So at this point, I feel like Swift is very touchdown or bust. You're probably looking at 8 to 10 points each game going forward. I just don't know if we're ever going to see him take off. He's going to need to make some big plays when he gets the opportunity. DJ Moore and Marquise Brown on PPR. Whew, that one's tough. Again, with the uncertainty for Marquise Brown, one, we don't love what DJ Moore's been doing with Baker Mayfield. I think we're probably gonna have to see the Panthers throw the ball a ton tomorrow. But if we get any inclination that Marquise Brown's gonna play, I think we got to go with Marquise Brown in this situation. And it's a tough matchup. Don't get me wrong; it is a tough matchup for the Cardinal receivers, especially if no Kyler Murray. But I still think Marquise Brown's your better play in this one. Foreman or D Johnson? Because it's PPR, we'll go with Deontay. It is a tough matchup. Again, we don't expect good things from Baker Mayfield and moving the ball. At this point, Foreman is pretty touchdown dependent. I don't think he's going to be able to run all over the Ravens like we saw last week. The Ravens, middle of the road here, but they don't allow rushing yards. They've only allowed 684 rushing yards on the year, 6 touchdowns. Where they allow points is in the passing game. So that leans more towards Chuba Hubbard anyways. 54 catches, 404 yards to the receiving back. So not a great spot for Foreman. I think Deontay is probably the safer spot. Do you think White takes the backfield? And even if he doesn't, is he worth a flex option? I mean, I think he's going to be the guy. And when I say he's going to be the guy, like you're probably looking at nearly a 50-50 split. Now, Leonard Fournette did get hurt in that game in Germany. But basically, if you're starting Rachaad White, you're hoping that he gets his 15 touches, whether that's 12 to 15 carries and a couple catches. So I think going forward, he's going to be a low end RB2 flex. It's against Cleveland, and the beauty about going against Cleveland next weekend, they're bad against the running back. So not only is White potentially, he's going to probably start again and get the more touches, he's also got a really good matchup. So I think Rachaad White is probably the dude next weekend and going forward. So that's funny, Aiden. I have that exact dilemma in my most important league. I was able to pick up Foster Moreau, and I've been holding on to Njoku for the last couple of weeks. I think if we get, because what I like about Njoku in that matchup is we expect the Bills to score points, which should lead towards Cleveland having to open it up and throw the ball. Now, Buffalo against the tight end situation here. Where is the Buffalo Bills? They've been pretty steady. They haven't allowed a touchdown all year, but we know Njoku is pretty damn good. So it feels like more of a floor game. So there is some risk in that. Whereas Njoku going up against Denver's been pretty bad against tight end. I will say this: Moreau's the safer play, especially because they really only have Devontae Adams as a good receiving option. So Moreau should be their number 2 target. I will say Moreau is probably the safe play here. And yeah, we like Rachaad White. I need Kamara to not get single-digit points again. It's an interesting matchup. That Rams-Saints game. Let's see, the Rams giving up. They've been pretty solid against running backs this year. Only about 21.18 points per game. If you can get 75% of that, you're probably looking at a touchdown and maybe 90 to 100 yards for Kamara. I think that's probably where he is tomorrow. I want to trade Swift, but I can't even get Zeke for him. Yeah, at this point, if you have Swift, we missed our window for trading him. You basically have to hold on to him and have to sell him if he pops off for a big game. Mayfield or Gallup PPR. Whew. I kind of like Gallup because it's tomorrow's game, Dallas at Minnesota. That's a fun game. There's going to be a lot of points to be had in that one. And Gallup's last 2 games, you're starting to see a floor come in. 6 targets, 7 targets, 49 yards, 35 yards, 4 catches in each. I mean, if you're comfortable with this 7 to 8 point floor, really strong chance for a touchdown tomorrow. They're projecting Dak to throw over 1.5. So give Dak 2 touchdowns passing. I like him in passing touchdowns and yards. And Minnesota right now, not the best against receiver. They rank they're the 3rd easiest team allowing wide receiver points. So I think that's a fun one for Gallup. I would expect 8 to 10 points as a floor. If he gets a touchdown, that's where it comes in. So I'm going to go with Gallup. I don't trust Baker Mayfield at Baltimore. I don't think Kyler Murray plays. And Colt McCoy, he was limited on Thursday. He practiced in full Friday and today. Kyler Murray's just been limited all 3 days of practice. It's very likely that Kyler Murray sits and we get Colt McCoy playing again. Mike Williams or Allen Robinson. I'll tell you, I trust Justin Herbert more in that passing offense. I'm gonna go Mike Williams here. Allen Robinson could have himself a nice game, but like we just haven't seen anything inspiring from him all season. So I'm gonna take the gamble here with Mike Williams. Tony or Slayton. So I'm a big Darius Slayton fan. I got him in a couple leagues. I like what he's been doing. Got some big play potential against the Detroit Lions. So this one's kind of like it's a risk versus reward. I think Slayton's got a really nice game. He can always pop off a big play for a touchdown like he did last week. But Tony, again, I think if you have Tony, I'm usually this week I've been getting a ton of questions on him. I'm breaking everything in favor of Tony right now. Again, we're down Mecole Hardman and Juju. Tony's going to be out there a lot. They like him in the red zone. They like to get him carries. It's Tony. Who is a good rookie to stash for Dynasty? So we got to think about guys that are available probably for cheap. I mean, we're probably talking rookie wide receivers here. Let me actually see if I can find a link. Let me see here. Let's see all content. See if I can find my rookie rankings. I mean, Treylon Burks is a guy that has a lot of upside right now. He's a lot of fun. If you can get Garrett Wilson, some of the rookies that got hurt, like if you can somehow go get Breece Hall, go do it. Like I want some of these guys. Again, I like Rachaad White's one of the best sleepers. Romeo Doubs, he's a guy that you could probably buy for cheap right now because he's hurt. Alec Pierce, I think he has legit chance at being a featured receiver in years to come for Indianapolis. I like him quite a bit. Maybe go get Isaiah Likely. You can go get Trey McBride. Further down the list here, David Bell, haven't seen much out of him yet. It gets a little bit ugly. Maybe go get Greg Dulcich if you need a tight end. He's a lot of fun. I think Cade Otton is a good rookie tight end that's got some upside in the future. What about John Mechie? I can't remember he had a health situation and he had to sit out this year. But John Mechie next year could be a lot of fun. And then I think Pacheco, you can maybe stash Pacheco. But at the top of the list again, I mean, Dameon Pierce, I don't know what's going to happen next year, but I would expect him to be heavily involved. Jameson Williams, perhaps. I mean, if you can get any of these guys here, these guys are all great sleepers. Hopefully the Falcons can get a quarterback next year to help our boy Drake London. But then the other guy here I'd like a lot is Jahan Dotson, who you might be able to buy pretty cheap right now. Antonio, thanks for hanging out. Who should I start? Gus, Kenyon Drake, Eli Mitchell, or McKinnon? PPR. Interesting. Okay. So with Gus Edwards, he's not an ideal PPR back, and technically Kenyon Drake either, because the Ravens just don't throw to the running back very much, like at all. So I think betting on one of those guys, I think it's a tough call. Honestly, I think the safest play is probably Eli Mitchell, because they gave him a lot of opportunity last week in a tight game. Let me actually pull that up here, see if I can find that for you. Arizona and the Rams. Nope, that's not right. Let me go back here. LA Chargers in San Francisco. So last week, McCaffrey dominated the snaps, but he also dominated the routes. But 18 carries for Elijah Mitchell in a game where I think we expect the 49ers to control the game and be able to run the football and have fun on offense. If you tell me Mitchell's going to get 15 touches, I think that's a pretty safe floor. He also gets targets every now and then. I think Mitchell is probably the most exciting player here because I'm finding it difficult to project how Baltimore is going to divvy up carries between Gus and Kenyon Drake. If you don't like any of those answers, McKinnon's fine. He's got a nice 8 to 10 point floor PPR leagues, but I think I'm going with Eli Mitchell. Should I drop Palmer for Moreau? Yeah, you could probably do that. Tony, Mike Williams, Deontay, or London PPR. I'm going Tony here. Again, last week's usage with Kadarius Toney, like they clearly want to get him the ball, and we have an opportunity on our hands here with no Juju, no Mecole Hardman. Hardman's out for the next 4 games, and people forget Hardman was having a mini breakout before he got hurt. And basically all those plays are going to go towards Kadarius Toney. And you see 5 targets, 2 carries last week on just 28 snaps. He's probably going to be up in the 40s or 50s for snaps tomorrow night. So Kadarius Toney is the guy. If I'm ranking these guys, I'm going to go Toney, Mike, Deontay, London, Harris, Kenny, Walker. Yep, Ken Walker. Ken Walker, you want to stash him. We think Odell's going to go to the Giants. I'm not sure, man. Like, the Giants can be a lot of fun. Personally, I don't think Odell's going to step into any relevance for fantasy. If anything, he's just going to be kind of a confusing wide receiver 3 flex play. I think not even a full year removed from his ACL injury. I don't think it's fair to expect him to be a stud right away with his new team. I'm trading all my Met players in Dynasty for picks I have. Yep, stack those picks, and then when you have a bunch of second rounders, you can move up, and it gets fun in the draft because you can kind of move around and get whatever guys you want. I have not been watching the World Cup, not yet. Sorry. He had I can't remember what it was, but yeah, Mechie having to sit out for the season. I can't remember what the exact form of it was. It might have been. Was it? Let me see what it was actually. I was pretty excited about Mechie coming out, and I really liked the fit. I thought he was going to be a really good slot receiver for them. Leukemia, that's what it was. So hopefully he's good to go. He's going to look good in that 88 next year. So I'm excited about Mechie in the future. But anyways, keep your questions coming in. We're going over a little bit, 30 minutes here. I'll hang out for another couple minutes if you guys need questions answered. I will be going live tomorrow morning. I go live at 10:30 a.m. Central Time. We'll hang out for another half hour in the morning, and we'll see if we can get you guys any more final questions. And hopefully we get an answer at Marquise Brown. At least just tell us if he's going to play. You know, we just want to know if he's going to play. So we'll see. But anyways, that's going to do it for me. Let me know if you guys ever have any questions. You can always hit me up on Twitter or comment this video. I'm pretty good at responding to anything on those platforms. But otherwise, let me see if I can find any other questions for you guys. All my questions just disappeared. Damn it. Anyways, thank you guys for hanging out with me tonight. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday evening, and we'll see you guys in the morning. Peace.